What I got, you can't buy. It resides between my eyes. Walked through the fire, came out better on the other side. See, life's like a beach if you find the sand. And right now, I'm feeling like 100 grand.
You are listening to Inspired Insider with your host, Dr. Jeremy Weisz.
Dr. Jeremy Weisz here, founder of InspiredInsider.com. Also, this will be on the Rising Entrepreneurs podcast, where I talk with inspirational entrepreneurs and leaders. Today is no different. I have Josh Levine, ColorMoreLines.com. I'll introduce Josh formally in a second. Josh, I always like to point out other episodes people should check out of the podcast. Some of my favorite episodes, I love to have the people and brands I most admire. I had the founder of RX Bars on the podcast, which was a great episode. The founder of Kettle Chips was on the episode. I had one of my favorite books, Never Split the Difference by Chris Voss. That was a great episode. So check that out and more great episodes on InspiredInsider.com and Rising Entrepreneurs. This episode is brought to you by Rise 25. And what we do is we help businesses give to and connect to their dream 100 relationships. And how do we do that? We help you run your podcast. Like I was saying, Josh, the number one thing for me in my life is relationships. I'm always looking at ways to give to my best relationships. So I found no better way over the past decade to profile the people and companies I most admire on this planet and feature them, and so other people can discover them and I can learn from them as well. So if you've thought about podcasting, you should. You can go to rise25.com, email us. My business partner and I have been both doing it for over a decade at this point. So we're happy to answer any questions that you have. I am excited. We have Josh Levine. He's co-founder and managing partner of ColorMoreLines. They're a boutique e-commerce agency helping brands grow faster on Amazon and Walmart. And in the last 2 years alone, during the pandemic, where some people were sheltering and, struggling, they actually helped 8 brands go from zero to $100,000 a month within 12 months of working together. They're a true white glove service. And I know people throw that term around. So we'll talk about what white glove service actually means. And they're also performance-based. And I want to give a big thank you to Justin Crane and Ben Leonard, because this interview would not be happening without those two people. So thank you both. And Josh, thanks for joining me.
Thank you so much. And thank you to Justin and Ben as well. Those guys are rock stars.
I wanted to start with just give people an overview a little bit about what you do at ColorMoreLines.
Sure. No, it's a fair question. Thank you. So we are a white glove boutique agency. And what does that actually mean? What that means is that we're a true partner with the company in terms of running their e-commerce component of their business. And look, advertising agencies are a dime a dozen out there, right? You can absolutely hire somebody to do your advertising. The danger of that, if you think about it, it's like flying a helicopter, right? If the company is controlling the main blade, right? And an ad agency is doing the rotor, if the main blade and the rotor are out of sync, guess what happens? It crashes, right? So it's really important. We're a single throat to choke. We do literally everything. White glove, meaning inventory management, logistics, financial dashboarding, forecasting, crisis management, creative, market intelligence, reverse engineering competitors, understanding points of parity, points of differentiation. Yes, advertising, one of literally 20 things that we do working with brands.
I want to go deep a little bit because people throw white glove service around, and what it sounds like for you is you do things that probably a lot of other companies don't want to do because it's probably tough to do and it's not easy to do. What are some of those components that even made you think, I don't know if we should even do it? This is not easy, right? What are some of those pieces that you do for the company that you really, go deep with?
No, it's a great question. What's that show on Discovery called Dirty Jobs or something like that, where they really roll up their sleeves and get dirty? That's what we do. And some of it, frankly, is not fun. Why do we do those components of it? Because we're performance-based, and the better our clients do, the better we do. And if those things aren't handled, guess what? Clients can't make money, and we can't make money. If we wanted to be a PPC-only advertising agency, that'd be easy. We could do that all day long, but the plane won't fly. And I'll give you an example. Crisis management, technical term, pain in the ass. If you have ungating issues, if you have listing issues, if you have hijackers, if you have illegal resellers, sending out cease and desist letters, getting dirty, kicking people off of listings that don't belong there based on your Amazon brand registry and the fact that, this is your brand, you should own it. Why should somebody be able to hop on your listing and take your sales? All that has to be done to clear the road in order to be able to do advertising, right? So that's a down and dirty thing we do. I can tell you of at least 3 or 4 companies that came to us that had over 100 illegal resellers on their listing. Imagine your brand, Jeremy, and you should be generating 100 grand a month, and $95,000 a month is going to illegal resellers. What does that mean? On Amazon, there's the yellow buy now box. Well, if there's illegal resellers, the yellow box turns gray and it says, see other buying options. So now you click on Jeremy's product, right? And you don't get to buy now. You get a gray box, which then shows you 4 or 5 people you can buy from, including Jeremy, the manufacturer. Now you've got maybe a 20% chance of getting the sale versus you owning it, right? And, that's the down and dirty and negative of Amazon. There's amazing things, but there's things you got to patrol. And that's one example of things that we patrol and clean up for clients, right? I would say another one that is down and dirty, people don't want to roll up their sleeves and do, is inventory management, right? When we think about clients and we think about them growing, we think about a flywheel that moves. And the first thing in the flywheel is availability. If your products aren't available and in stock and you can't forecast properly, you go out of stock. If you go out of stock, it's the kiss of death on Amazon. Why? You get deranked, right? And we have an expression. And if we work super hard getting people to page 1, we have an expression, which is, where's the best place to bury a dead body on Amazon.com? Pop a page 2. Why? Nobody's looking, right? When's the last time you went to page 2 or page 3 or page 20 to look for a product? Well, Amazon, frankly, doesn't care about you and doesn't care about us. They want to make money themselves, right? So if you're not in stock, they're just going to take you off the hard work we've done, bubbling you up to the number 3 link. You're now going to be on page 30, right? Because you're not available. So inventory management is down and dirty, right? Are we in your warehouse and are we a 3PL? No. But managing that, putting the intelligence layer on top of that, giving clients a dashboard where they can understand the days on hand and the fulfillable quantities and what's needed to ship in is invaluable, because an entrepreneurs, all they need to do literally is send a label in, things arrive on time and they don't go out of stock.
That's a huge thing, what you just talked about there, and we can unravel it a little bit, because inventory management, it's the non-sexy thing that allows e-commerce companies to function, and that kind of goes into cash flow. So I'd love for you to talk about how you think about cash flow.
Oh, that's a great question. So part of what we do in our dashboarding is, to be able to log in and see all of your parent ASINs and all the children underneath, right? And exactly how much stock and days on hand you need, and to be able to forecast that demand, and then be literally clicking on a parent ASIN all the way down to the children, or a child ASIN, which could be blue color, size, quantity 23, right? The health of the family is only as good as the health of the children, right? So clicking on that and then seeing exactly how much revenue that produces for your company, and then how much cash flow you need to buy more product is critical. So from a cash flow perspective, baseline 1 is understanding that, right? On top of that is understanding what is it going to cost for me to have a 3PL on board? Because the worst thing you can do is ship from China, try to get that right into Amazon. You need to have a 3PL based here in the United States. We do marketplaces globally. So if it's bol.com in the Netherlands, or Cdiscount in France, or Amazon, let's say Japan, you have to have a 3PL on the ground, and you need to build that into a financial model so you can afford that, right? That's number 2. Number 3, obviously, you have to be able to afford an agency like ours to do the work, or you need to hire W-2s internally to do that work, right? There's no free lunch. You got to pay for that, right? Our value prop, the reason why we're in business, is we're kind of like a timeshare model where you can sliver slice basically a 30-person team of experts that's been selling on Amazon for 16 years versus trying to hire. That's less expensive than hiring even 1 or 2 full-time experts on Amazon internally. But any way you slice it, you got to pay for that expert, and you got to invest in that, either headcount, benefits, mastermind groups to stay up to date on the A9 algorithm, or you outsource it. So that's kind of like number one, inventory, I got the money. Two, who's going to run this thing, right? Internal or external. Once you do that, three, what's your off Amazon strategy, right? You've got to be able to have money aside. Forget about us, or let's say the W-2s you've hired. The Amazon A9 algorithm is increasingly rewarding the work you do off of Amazon, right? So what are you doing on TikTok, Instagram, Facebook? What are you doing with PR? What are you doing with influencers? What are you doing with your ambassador programs? There's so many buckets of money that have to be invested in order to be successful on Amazon, because the algorithm is going to say, okay, 1 + 1 = 3 in this example, right? The days of being an Amazon only brand, in my opinion, in our opinion, are pretty much over. This were 2015. You could just buy some product from China, white label it, and roll. If you came to me today and said, hey, I want to sell vitamin C on Amazon, I'd be like, namaste, adios, see you later. We can't help you, but that's a race to the bottom based on price. Amazon wants to see you build a brand, and you need money to do that outside of Amazon.
You mentioned a couple things, 3PLs, forecasting off Amazon. I want to touch on the forecasting. What are some mistakes that you see people make with forecasting?
You talking specific relative to inventory?
Yeah, because I'm sure like you have people coming to you and they've already been in business for a while, and you are looking at holistically. You've seen a lot of different brands, and you probably point out some low-hanging fruit of things that they can do to clean up what their cash flow and their forecasting.
No, that's a great question. I think the biggest thing is don't underestimate the beast, meaning if 1 out of every 2 sales in the United States is transacting on Amazon.com, and we're going to light that up, and we've done that, to your point, with 8 companies in the last 2 years going from 0 to 100 grand a month in 12 months, you got to be ready for that, meaning you've got to have enough supply in a 3PL and invest in that money to have the inventory sitting there onshore in the United States. So that 3PL can drip feed Amazon when we send them labels and say, go, ship X amount of Y product on Z date, right? So that's an investment you have to make. Otherwise, you stock out. Goes back to the kiss of death of deranking, and we have to run up the hill again. I just got off the phone with a very established company that's running into that problem today. And now that we're blowing them up in a good way, they're having to stock a lot more at that 3PL to be successful. So I feel like from a cash flow perspective, that's critical, but also being prepared to make the investments off of Amazon is equally critical. And, it's about expectation setting. Like, we can have a slope of the curve in terms of growth that's like this, really high. It could also be medium and lower, but expectations have to go along with that. In order to have a rocket ship and go from 0 to 100K in 12 months, you got to be able to invest. If you don't have that cash, you could look to fundraising, or it's perfectly okay to say, you know what, we're going to downshift expectations, kind of grow medium, right, versus super fast.
That's been even more important recently in the past couple of years with Amazon, because they've restricted their inventory requirement. So before, you could send 6 months of inventory and they'll hold it. Now that's not the case anymore. And so this has become even more important. And what do you look for in a 3PL? Like, I'm sure people, ask you as a trusted advisor.
Yeah, no, for sure. Look, we've worked with good and bad 3PLs. We have a short list of a couple 3PLs that are tried and true that we use all the time. We look for experience, like literally 10, 15, 20 years in business, no fly-by-night shops, right? Number one. Number two, we look for 3PLs that understand how to spell the word Amazon. I know that sounds so basic, but there's 3PLs out there that do a lot of dance, but they've never really worked with Amazon and understand that. That's so critical, right? We want a 3PL that understands what IPI means. If they don't, run away from it. IPI is Inventory Performance Index. And if you're unfamiliar with it, it's the score that Amazon provides that basically says they grade you on 4 different criteria, and they give you an index. Basically, I think it's 0 to 800, red, yellow, green, right? And if you're unable effectively to not only bring product into Amazon when we're requesting it, and have a sell-through rate that makes sense on the other criteria, Amazon's going to restrict the amount of product that you're able to send in, because they're basically like, hey, we don't trust you that if you say you're going to ship in, you can actually fulfill. Yeah. So these are the kind of things that we would ask a 3PL. How long are you in business? What are your thoughts on the IPI score? And listen to the results. Like, what do you mean IPI? They should know that right off the bat. And these are basic things. And then, we have a track record with some of these 3PLs we work with. And we know the ones, in our opinion, that have done great work and the ones that need help, right? And we're happy to make referrals anytime.
Let's talk about one of the companies you help was a supplement company.
Yes, we've helped lots of supplement companies. It's probably the hardest category within Amazon. It is cutthroat. And what I mean by cutthroat is, remember we talked about crisis management and the dirty stuff that no one likes to do, right? And understanding the call center to go to in Bangalore, in Bellevue, Washington, and how to clean all that up, right? It's such a cutthroat category. We had a client, and I kid you not, this is a hard case, where a competitor was pissed at the growth we've had with this client, that they logged a complaint with Amazon that their supplement has shark teeth in it. Straight up. It's the most ridiculous thing. They also changed an image on our client's page and replaced the supplement with a picture of a basketball. This happened, literally. It's insane, right? So patrolling listings, keeping them up and going is all this critical stuff. That category is cutthroat, right? So this is an example of a client. It's our best case study, actually, where we took a client in 12 months from zero to $330,000 a month in 12 months. Now, huge asterisk on the side. Not for everybody, right? Rare case. Why did it happen? Well, yeah, we do the great work we do, but we had an amazing client that was doing amazing work off of Amazon, to the point of, just to show you the upper limit, where they're making massive investments off of Amazon. And by the way, this is not a Fortune 500 company. This is a small company that has an incredible entrepreneur as a CEO who's doing great work. So much so where they're launching a documentary on Netflix to talk about the importance of their supplements. They're partnering with beauty brands and major brand names. They're working with doctors at Harvard Medical School and UCLA, literally talking about the efficacy of their supplements. And this is a patented, portfolio of products that's not vitamin C, right? Which is a race to the bottom. So it takes a special mix of, I have something unique that's really good. I'm willing to market off Amazon. I'm willing to partner with people that know Amazon. And together, that's just a powder keg of excitement, right?
I want to talk about what a successful funnel looks like off Amazon that will help Amazon. But in the supplement example, like are they running ads? I'm making this up, running ads on Instagram, sending them to an Amazon listing. Are they running it to their website and, collecting emails and then sending it to Amazon? What does a successful off Amazon strategy, just as an example, look like?
Oh man. Well, if you got 3 hours, let's roll.
Let's do it.
But the 2-minute high level on that is, best practices, we like to see, 80% or 90% of traffic going to their D2C site, their direct to consumer sites, whether that's backend Shopify or whatever they're using, right? But we want to see some traffic going to Amazon, and specifically, and I'm not going to get into all of our secret sauce, right, and how we do things, but let me just tell you this. Part of that traffic needs to go to Amazon, needs to be set up the right way. And here's what's really important. Amazon launched a program recently. Look, they're under pressure too, by the way. The big bad wolf for them is Walmart, obviously, who's spending $1 billion to compete with them. Yeah. So one of the things they're trying to do is get defensive and get offensive and say, you know what? If you're an entrepreneur and you want to send traffic into my company, Amazon, let me give you a link and I'll give you 10% off your selling fees. That's a huge incentive. Most companies are not taking advantage of that now. Why would I not send some traffic into Amazon to the brands I'm trying to uplift if Amazon's going to give me 10% back on the selling side? Effectively, they're subsidizing your advertising costs off of Amazon. Guess what? When we bring that up with clients, they've either never heard of the program or they're not doing it. So that's a best practice we like to do because it's effectively not free, but almost free advertising, right?
Gosh, that's a mic drop moment right there. I'm just going to pause for a second because that's a huge huge advantage.
It's a huge advantage. And
I've talked to so many people in the e-commerce space, Amazon, and I'm not aware of it. So
yeah. Well, yeah. And it's
that's
why
amazing.
doing that. They're trying to obviously increase switching costs and make it harder for you to leave the Amazon platform. And they also want to help entrepreneurs. And they realize if entrepreneurs and businesses are willing to help them, they're willing to kind of, you scratch my back, I'll scratch yours. So why would you not do that, right?
Love it. Let's talk about Walmart for a second, because there's a lot of low-hanging fruit. Some people are just, I don't know what you would say, fat and happy. Amazon's doing amazing. So why do anything? Why focus efforts on something else that may produce when they could just focus on their energy in Amazon? Talk about diversification in Walmart.
Oh, it's a great point. I mean, Walmart's a sleeping giant right now, as we know. We know what a behemoth they are in the retail stores. And yeah, they came late to the dance on this side of things, but the trajectory and growth on Walmart is incredible right now. Getting on Walmart.com today would be like getting on Amazon in 2015. You don't need a verified purchase to have a review. You don't have the competition for keywords. The amount of work that has to be done to kind of get there is a hell of a lot less than it's going to be 5 years from now. So what we tell clients right now is, are you going to make the money on Walmart as you are on Amazon? Absolutely not. But if you can at least get to 10% of your Amazon sales on Walmart today, and in some categories, you can get even higher than that, what are you waiting for, right? And what I'm seeing, interestingly enough, when I join different mastermind groups and go to different conferences, is that there's an increasingly number of vendors that are trying to serve the Walmart marketplace as well. Because the reality is, when that tide rises, all boats are going to rise. And if you can actually rise to the top of your category in terms of keyword ranking, now you're on the top of the hill. It's a lot easier to protect it than climb back up, right? Think about, again, how easy it was to do business on Amazon in 2015 versus 2022, 2023, right? Much different. Now, what's the problem with that? People are starting to wake up to that. And if you're trying to get on Walmart today, you could be in a queue of anywhere between a month and 4 months to go live. Straight up, it's not easy. So between us and our partner that we work with, we're one of literally only 8 agencies out there that have, working with our partner on this specifically, a special designation with Walmart, and frankly, the ability to go, let's just call it a fast pass, to get things approved faster than they normally would, meaning shrinking that 4-month time period down to 4 or 5 weeks. Big asterisk, not guaranteed, but the point is we can get the attention and really help brands grow faster. So I guess my biggest point is there's no reason not to get on Walmart. Recommend that people are on that like yesterday. Would not expect fireworks on there right away, but you got to get on there and defend your space now.
When someone comes to you, Josh, like, let's do this, and you start to onboard them, are you simultaneously onboard? Like, let's say they're on Amazon, they have a presence on Amazon, and they don't on Walmart. At what point in the conversation do you say, let's turn Walmart on? Is it right away, or do you want to wait?
That's a great question. I mean, if you remember as a kid and you were like, because I was a geek and I was like always doing all these nerdy things, like, when you have the leaf and you're trying to light it on fire with the sun's energy and the magnifying glass, right? If you move that magnifying glass too fast, there's no leaf catches on fire, right? So it's, to answer the question is, when Amazon.com is on fire and doing well, then we can move the magnifying glass to Walmart. We can move it to Bol.com in the Netherlands. We can move it to Amazon Japan, Mexico, Canada, wherever it might be. And it's not just us, like, we can go fast on that. But back to the cash flow, that company or that entrepreneur needs the cash in the bank to support a new platform launch. And it has nothing to do with our fees, because we're performance-based and growing with clients. It has to do with, you need money on advertising. You need to support a social strategy. You've now opened up a new, front in your war to succeed here. You better have the troops to support that, because otherwise that magnifying glass is going to sit there with not enough energy to light that on fire. So it's more on the client, right? And this is something that we run pro formas on, figure out with them financially. Can you afford to open up a new front or not, right? In some examples, we can launch with Amazon and Walmart right away. In other examples, it's Amazon's a mess. It's got illegal resellers. Revenue is flat. It's not growing. We got a lot of work to do to fix it. and all the client's money needs to be spent on off Amazon and on Amazon, making this healthy. And then we move to Walmart. So I guess the end of the day, we can do whatever makes the most sense for the client and their budget and what they need.
Yeah. Yeah. Because I could see clients being like, Josh, we just want to blow up everywhere. And you're like, well, let's just get Amazon healthy before we, go to another platform. I want to also hear your opinion on the decision to be performance-based and what performance-based means.
Oh my God, it's such a great decision. I just feel like at this stage in my career, I've been sold by every salesperson on planet Earth in multiple industries and at Fortune 500 companies and at startups. And I really believe in life, you learn from your failures more than you do your successes, right? And I was tired of being duped by people that, it's the classic management conundrum of hoping for behavior A and rewarding behavior B, right? And so the only way to align that and not to be like, oh, hey, Jeremy, here's a 2-year contract, 24 months. I'm going to start performing on month 23 of 24 because I want my renewal, right? That's a bunch of nonsense. And so I didn't want that. I'm also an entrepreneur. I've also been on the corporate side of things as well. I want the respect and trust. And it sounds so basic, but if you're doing good work, you earn your keep every month. We have a clause in our termination, which is real simple. After onboarding, you have 30 days right to cancel with or without cause, which means if you wake up one day and you think the sky is purple and not blue, you fire us. I say that with confidence, respect, and humility, because it's if you're doing great work day in and day out, you earn your keep. Why do you need to lock somebody into a contract, right? And all of a sudden that eliminates the risk of working with a vendor, right? Because I've been in the opposite situation where I'm now stuck in this 2-year contract. So that's what it means to be performance-based, right? And that's it. And for clients doing more than $100,000 a month on Amazon or Walmart or combined e-commerce marketplaces, we're taking a percentage of sales and growing with them, period, right? For clients that are startups or new, we have a minimum retainer until we get to 100 grand a month. Why? Because you're working with experts that have to be paid to do what they're doing. You're either working with us or you're hiring that team internally and you're paying for that anyway, right?
Yeah, and your goals are aligned, right? They obviously want to get if they're a startup, want to get to 100K a month as quickly as possible.
Yeah, exactly. And exactly. So that's what performance-based means. And that way, like I said, that's why when we give a proposal to a client, they're like, well, can we see your services agreement? Sure. Copy, paste, send, right? Meaning, yeah, there's some legalese, but the only thing that matters in our agreement is clause 13, which says 30-day right to cancel with or without cause, right? So it just de-risks the whole team. It puts pressure on us, but we've been doing this on Amazon for 10, 15 years. So it's okay, right?
Tell me about who's a fit for you. You are a white glove service. You can't work with everyone. Right. It's very high touch. Who's a fit for you to work with?
That's a great question, man. We had to take a real hard look at what's a good fit and not. And honestly, 9 out of 10 times we politely say no. And I'll tell you why. Clients either got a commodity product, which is a waste to the bottom, i.e. vitamin C. Forget it, right? Clients going through, some sort of course online on Amazon, and they're buying product from China, slapping their label on it, reselling on Amazon. Ooh, it's going to be easy button. In 2015, yes. 2022, no way, right? So we're looking for, number one, seasoned companies who understand the importance of Amazon and growth and the fact that 1 out of every 2 sales happen on Amazon in the United States, right? So seasoned companies are seasoned entrepreneurs who've been in business a while. They understand there's no free lunch. They either got to work with an agency like ours on a timeshare model, which is less than the cost than them building out a team, or they got to build out a team on their own. But it's not just hey, this is just going to happen magically, right? So that mindset's critical, and we really test for that. The second thing is a differentiated product. Do they need to have a patent or an approval from the FDA? No. It would be nice if they had something that was differentiating, but the value prop better be unique, right? And then the third thing, they've got to have at least 50% gross margins, right? Because otherwise there's no money for them to either build out their own Amazon e-commerce team or hire us. because they're working on razor thin margins. How are you going to hire us? Or how are you going to build out your own team? How are you going to do marketing off of Amazon if there's not enough dry powder? It's too thin, right?
What's interesting about that conversation, Josh, I bet you have conversations with people who will want to hire you. And I'm imagining after the conversation with you, you don't work with them because of that, maybe the gross margin. And you may shift their whole, I don't know if you've seen cases where you shift their business or like, well, actually, maybe we shouldn't even go into that product line. Has that happened before?
Oh my God, all the time. And the thing that I love the best is helping clients, frankly, decommission products or help them realize through our financial analysis that guess what, buddy, you're not making money selling this today, right? Because when we add in all the true costs in our modeling and we give them a dashboard, they can log in and see it. They're like, oh my God, yeah, this is not the best thing. But what's actually fulfilling for me, frankly, is helping them launch new products that are, and doing the market research ahead of time and understanding the points of parity and points of differentiation. And where's the sweet spot to launch an Amazon? I mean, what I love just from a nerdy perspective is that, 10 years ago in marketing, 50% is wasted, as they say, right? And you don't even know what your competition's doing. If you're willing to spend the money, and, I'm talking, helium 10 is great. That's wonderful. But we also use our own tools and other things out there collectively to say, if everybody's using the same tool, everybody's getting the same results, right? But if you're doing something maybe a little different and understanding that's a great benchmark, but what else is out there, and you're understanding exactly where to launch in the marketplace, guess what happens? You can, when you go to battle, that arrow is super sharp. You pull that backfire, boom, you get through that armor of ADD, OCD, I'm busy, I don't have time to look at this. The consumer instantly lights up and buys your product. So, and here's what the point is. If you know exactly what your competitor's selling, how many units they're moving, right? What is their revenue? Exactly, again, it's like I said, points of parity, points of differentiation. Before you even launch a product, you exactly know how to go, frankly, beat them up. And that's super cool. And you know exactly what your gross margin is and exactly how much you have to sell. And then all of a sudden, you're like, I got these 6 ideas for products. I'm now realizing only one is viable versus launching 6 and wasting all this money, right?
One of my favorite interviews of all time was with Perry Marshall, 80-20 for sales and marketing. And you have a specific philosophy, 80-20 with products.
Without a doubt. It's kind of, and what's so cool is just literally getting a JPEG from a client. And, you can't even see these things. Maybe you can or can't. It doesn't matter the product. But like, if we're able to say, this is Jeremy's product and competitor, if we're able to get a representative sample of 100 data points and simply say, if these products were absolutely identical, which one would you buy and why? And the only thing Jeremy's invested in at this stage, meaning you, is a graphic designer and a label. Well, you start getting enough data points, it's incredible the information you can get on the marketplace before you spend money on packaging and formulation and launch.
So we talked about some supplement example. What about you had a hearing protection?
Oh yeah, we have lots of clients, but one of my favorite case studies is, that's right, is a hearing protection company. Super interesting. And I didn't know this, but once you lose your little villi in your ear, right? When that goes away, once you lose those, you get tinnitus and ringing. That's it. You don't get your hearing back. It just degrades, right? So this company is they're a pioneer in the space. They're literally the leaders in the space. And they reduce the treble and the bass to a level that's tolerable so that you don't blow out your ears at concerts and all that. They were with another agency in flat, very low 5 figures for a long time. Within 2 years of working with us, we took them from there to 6 figures a month in revenue on their product. And it was a great success and a great case study. But again, it's not the success that I got excited about. It's the fact that we took them there in 18 months, and that was January 2020, and you know what happened. Now the pandemic hits, and guess what? Lollapalooza and South by Southwest and Coachella and the world shut down. There's no need to go to concerts, right? Everybody's isolating. So you can imagine what happened to their business, right? And at the same time, we pivoted and went into different categories, working closely together with them. So going into hearing protection for motorcycles outdoors, which you could do in the pandemic and moving into, sleep in areas where you just want quiet and different type of plugs. And we literally they reimagined with our support together, launching new verticals. And it's been a wonderful symbiotic partnership over the years, launching new marketplaces and, growing together.
Yeah, that's pretty amazing because you open different categories. And then when the concerts come back, now they have that on top of what they're currently doing.
Absolutely. And all the split testing and stuff I'm talking about is critical, working in conjunction with them. And they're able to get, a lot of that done at a fraction of the cost of, what it would cost them to actually hire that internally.
When a company's going, they're flat, they're plateaued for a while. What, I don't know if in this specific instance, what's something that was low-hanging fruit? Because a company wants to grow and they want to get out of that plateau. And maybe they're skeptical too. Like, we've been doing at this for a while, we're plateaued. What's something that you're looking at as low-hanging fruit to get them out of that plateau phase?
It's a great question. And it really depends, right? So the first thing we do is, just like going to the doctor, we're going to take your blood pressure, your pulse. We're going to run through literally like a 60-point question diagnostic on the car and triage the problem, right? And so I can't really answer your question until I know where the problem is, right? But based on this battery of tests, we can tell whether it's an availability issue, whether it's an issue around conversion, whether it's an issue around driving traffic, whether it's an issue expanding into a new marketplace. There's so many critical aspects of the business that have to be functioning properly, in order to play beautiful music. And I like to give the example of, I'm Dudamel at the Los Angeles Philharmonic here where I live in Los Angeles. If the French horns are tooting away, but the strings are not in sync with the French horns and the percussions, it's not going to sound good, right? So we've got to triage where the problem is, get everybody humming properly, and all of a sudden you got beautiful music, i.e. revenue.
Josh, you mentioned before about the fast pass to Walmart, and I'd love to hear, I know you worked with Disney, I know you worked with Microsoft for many years. Any lessons in business, culture, whatever it is, from Disney and Microsoft from working with them?
Oh my God, there's a lot of things. And I loved working for those companies. I really cut my teeth there early on in my career. I was on the Windows XP launch team, and I don't think I'll ever have an opportunity like that again. But, doing business development for them and working on partnerships. At the time, I worked on a deal with a little company nobody heard of. There are 150 people in Mountain View, California, called Google, right? And it was fascinating working with them and working with Microsoft and to SIM ship a product, Windows XP, that was 300 years ago, right? But that's, their first SIM ship in 150 countries and 50 languages, however many it was, same day. Just understanding scale and growth. And, it was an amazing training ground there. Just such a group of smart individuals. And, God, it's a much bigger conversation, but understanding how to scale products and grow them in different marketplaces is, I'd say, what I really learned there. And Disney was incredible. I was there during the time when we were launching Disney California Adventure, which was a whole new theme park in Anaheim, California, next to Disneyland. And so being, ride testing, the Sun Wheel and, getting stuck on that while we figured out the attraction when it was literally just dirt, it wasn't even built, was actually quite fun. But I always love to say putting things on a track at Disneyland and understanding this is exactly how Disney were to do things and the importance of SOPs, standard operating procedures. And this is actually, how you build this out. And this is exactly what we do internally now. Everything has an SOP. Why? Because if it's a company that's being built and looking to be sold, the last thing we want it to be, with due respect, is the Dr. Jeremy show. Because what's going to happen is they're going to say, this company can't succeed without Dr. Jeremy, right? And then all of a sudden they're going to lock you into a multi-year contract and you're like, oh my God, I want to sell this company, right? But if we can say, oh no, it's not about me, Dr. Jeremy, it's about all my SOPs in place. So you guys don't need me here. If I go on holiday, everything hums like a track on Disneyland.
First of all, Josh, thank you. I have one last question. And before I ask it, I want to point people to check out your website. They can go to ColorMoreLines.com. Are there any other places online or on your website we should make sure to point people towards?
Well, that's a great question. We spend a lot of time investing in just blogs to educate, everybody on the industry, what's going on. There's a great blog page. You can kind of geek out on any subject you want to learn about, from search frequency rank to whatever you need to know. Go check out the blogs. There's great content there.
Last question, Josh. I know you're an advisor at several companies as well. What are some things that you think about when you go in to advise a company, and right off the bat that you want to make sure they're paying the most attention to?
As it relates to what specifically would you say?
Growth.
Growth in general? That's a great question. I just think it's one of the first things is just understanding what true north is, right? And having a financial model that's built out 3 years in advance and being really cognizant around the tough choices you're going to need to make relative to what you can invest in and be successful, both really on and off Amazon, right? Not biting off too much. Back to the magnifying glass and the leaf analogy, right? If we're going into this marketplace, this vertical, do we have enough dry powder to actually get there? Because if we can't get there and stick, like for example, ranking on Amazon, eventually competitors will come at you, and then we've wasted the energy, rolling up that hill. The other thing I'll say too is not to underestimate the kind of HR component of that, especially when it comes to compensation and making sure people are rewarded appropriately. So just like our company is performance-based, the worst thing you can do with employees and executives is hope for behavior A and reward behavior B, right? So making sure those compensation plans are aligned with the company vision, the company goals, and the company strategies, and they cascade down into every department, from operations to sales to marketing to HR, so that when it comes bonus time, everybody is on the same sheet of music and gets paid based on the performance that's going to drive the business forward at the top end.
Josh, I want to be the first one to thank you. Everyone check out ColorMoreLines.com. Check out more episodes of the podcast. Check out Rise 25. And thanks, Josh. Thanks, everyone.
Thank you so much.
What I got, you can't buy. It resides between my eyes. Walked through the fire, came out better on the other side. See, life's like a beach if you find the sailing right now. I'm feeling like 100 grand.